So, guys, I guess a couple of days, Ragashanti came out and he talked about Spice coming back to the U.S. to heal and get better. And everything is alleged, or allegedly, of course. But he mentioned the fact that the doctor who performed the surgery on her, and he believed it was for some type of tummy tuck, when the liposuction the tummy. He believes, and he was told that the doctor who performed the surgery, it was only his third surgery that he was performing. Remember, a couple of days I put out a video and I said you should really research how many surgeries that doctor has done on what you want get done. If you want a tummy tuck, you got to research how many tummy tucks that doctor did. Well, apparently, this doctor only had 3 surgeries under his belt doing this procedure.
Allegedly.
So Spice should have done her due diligence and researched this surgeon and not go by what was recommended. Because these people that's doing the recommendation, these consultants out of the DR, they're going to recommend whatever surgeon is paying them the most. That's how it goes. So this is what Ragashanti had to say.
Ragashanti is a radio broadcaster.
And that she came in by air ambulance from the Dominican Republic. Again, sources informed me that allegedly, reportedly, Spice is now in the United States, that she has landed in Fort Lauderdale, and she came in privately, and that they said she's walking, but it's quite obvious that she's not in good shape, understandable, given the ordeal that she went through. Again, just want to remind you, allegations are that, again, allegedly, reportedly, that Spice went to the Dominican Republic to secure plastic surgery in the form of a tummy tuck and other things, and that complications ensued, resulting in her having sepsis. Allegedly, reportedly, she used a surgeon who Spice was the third person that he worked on. In other words, it's only 2 times before Spice he did this type of a surgery. Allegedly, reportedly. Allegedly, reportedly, she suffered what the medical personnel are terming a perforated intestine. And that basically intestine, what we call tripe, that, carries our waste that we end up excreting, as in feces and urinal type of thing that's not supposed to be in your body, obviously, because that's why the body gets rid of it. It's highly toxic, highly poisonous and thing. So apparently the surgeon, in his, whether mistake or incompetence, perforated her intestine, which perforate is a bossy term, means emboss our intestines, whether big or small and whatever, but the contents seeped from her intestines into her body, ended up poisoning her. I am not an expert on this, but the medical personnel have informed me that the sepsis thing is super, super serious, incredibly serious, and that unfortunately, when I bring down a bad vibes by now, but unfortunately, a lot of people who have this type of sepsis, they don't make it. Supposedly also, this is not unusual for women who are doing cosmetic surgery. People, I should say, who are doing cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery.
So, guys, we heard what radio personality, radio broadcaster Ragashanti has to say concerning Spice's condition. Because, now everybody's weighing in on this situation with Spice.
Full report or statement or interview. I just pulled out a little snippet just to let you guys hear what he had to say. But his story does not match what Spice is putting out.
So now I think the public is getting a better understanding of really what happened. And apparently, Spice, whether she went in for surgery or her initial stay at the hospital was for this hernia that she said that she went in for, or whether or not she was undergoing some type of surgery, that is still not clear. What is clear, however, is that she had spillage of bowel content that seeped into her surrounding tissue, which ended up in her bloodstream. The bacteria ended up in her bloodstream, causing sepsis, which is a massive infection, systemic infection all over the body because it's being carried by the blood. And the bacteria that is in her system, of course, it had to be gotten rid of. So her white blood cells went into attack mode, causing inflammation, which led to
organ failure. And so that doesn't surprise me if that's what happened, because usually if a person goes into sepsis, sometimes organs do shut down. So the doctors really have to aggressively treat that sepsis before organs start shutting down. Because remember, your organs are in a very, very sterile environment. Sterile environment meaning that there's no bacteria existing in your organs whatsoever at all. So if a bacteria enters the bloodstream and goes into your organs, you're in trouble. Even one little bacteria, because they multiply very quickly. And so with the bowel content, your bowel content is full of bacteria. And with the spillage, can you imagine how many bacteria entered her system all at once?
So sepsis is really like the body combating the toxic contents. It's trying to sweep away all this toxic stuff that came from the intestine. So the body goes into fight mode. The infection actually causes the organs to fail.
But Spice says she had no organ failure. At least that's what is posted by her team, or maybe by her. I don't know, but that's the statement that came out, that she has no organ failure. But usually that's what happens when a person has sepsis. Either one or two organs are failed. And if she didn't have any organ failure, she's lucky.
Now, there are pictures all over the internet recently, like maybe a day ago, that when Spice was flown in to Fort Lauderdale in Florida, there was an ambulance on the tarmac.
It appears to be someone on a stretcher. We don't know if it's Spice because we couldn't see her face, but that's what's on the internet.
But in any event, this is all alleged. Allegedly, she was on a stretcher. I don't see any posting of her walking. It was reported that she was walking, but she was weak. But there's no pictures of her walking. So all this is alleged. And what Ragashanti said is absolute true. When there is abdominal spillage, like your bowels are perforated and that bacteria goes all over your body to the blood system, you become sepsis. And because you are fighting in this fighting mode, all your white blood cells are fighting the bacteria that entered, then you build up all this pus and your whole system becomes overwhelmed and all your organs will start to shut down
if the infection is not treated aggressively and treated early on. But Spice's team is saying that did not happen to her. Spice did deny, or her team denied, that she had any organ failure.
So here again, we have a discrepancy in the stories. And I guess when it's all ironed out, we're not going to get the true story, because the only person who can give us a true story is Spice or her surgeon. And right now, we got to go with what Spice is saying. She said she did not have a punctured intestine. What she had was a hernia, in spite of all these stories that's coming out otherwise.
So whether it was a hernia or a perforation, or the surgeon puncture her abdomen by mistake, the end result is the same. If you have a perforation in the bowels that bust, or you have a surgeon's scalpel accidentally puncturing the bowels, or you have a hernia
which is a bulging of an organ or tissue through an abdominal opening. If that busted, then she would have to go to the hospital for emergency surgery. So either way, no matter how you look at this thing, she still needed surgery. The end result is still the same. So the latest thing that people are saying is that while being under the knife for plastic surgery, for liposuction of the abdomen, the hernia that was there got busted. So all these stories are contrary to what Spice is saying. So we got to go by what Spice is saying, because she's the person who is experiencing all this medical stuff. Initially, when the report came out of Dominican Republic that she has multiple organ failure, I think that was what they were talking about. Sepsis as a result of bowel content being spilled and the bacteria getting into the blood. But they did not say hernia. They said due to the liposuction. And so it could have been the hernia. If you think about it, if she had a hernia and it busted, then bacteria would get into her system. So either way, she needed surgery. But it did not clarify. So a lot of people ran with the narrative that her organs were punctured also. And that's not the case. I think because of the sepsis, she had the organ failure, like Ragashanti said. And another doctor posted also, a doctor out of Jamaica posted that when he did his explanation, this is exactly what it is. Because of the sepsis, she had multiple organ failure, allegedly, if that's the case. You know, that's the explanation for the organ failure or multiple organ failures. This is all alleged. Her organs were not punctured. And Spice said, nothing a go so. She had no punctured organs at all. She didn't even have the bowel puncture. What she had was a hernia. So there's a discrepancy in the story right there. She's saying nothing of the sort happened. And then we got Ragashanti, who is confirming from his sources that yes, she had a puncture in the intestinal wall, which led to a systemic inflammation of the body, which is known as sepsis. But Spice says she has a hernia or had a hernia. That's where the operation took place. But where was the hernia? That is the question. Was it in the bowels? Was it in the small or large intestine? And if so, what is a hernia? So now we're going to do a little detective work, like if we're Sherlock Holmes, okay? We're going to go into this investigation mode. We got to find out what a hernia is, where the hernia was, and what damage it caused. So according to WebMD, a hernia is a bulging of an organ or tissue through an abdominal opening. So based on the definition, we know that hernia was in the abdomen. And if the hernia was in the abdomen, then it burst and the bowel content escaped into her bloodstream, causing sepsis. So right now, I am looking at Spice putting out this report about she had a hernia and that's what caused the sepsis. She's telling the truth. Based on this definition of what a hernia is, where it's found in the bowel region. And if it did bust, then the content of the bowel spilt into the surrounding tissue, getting into her bloodstream, causing sepsis. So now let's look at what WebMD says about bowel perforation leading up to sepsis. Sepsis is caused by a bowel perforation or tear. That's what it is, a tear in the bowels. Sepsis can be life-threatening and is caused when chemicals are released into the bloodstream to fight infections, triggering an inflammatory response, which is known as sepsis if not treated early, can damage multiple organs and lead to septic shock. Whether or not she had something else done, we don't know. But right now, because of the perforation, the hernia in the bowels, that bust, causing the spillage into the bloodstream of all this bacteria, which led to sepsis. So now I'm about to get into the second part of this particular video, which is the aftercare for bowel perforation. Now that it has been reported that Spice is here in the US in the hospital, this is the procedure that she's going under because she says she had this hernia, which caused her bowels to tear, causing her to go into sepsis. So let's look at the protocol. After the surgeons suture it up, sew it up, and now it has to heal, it has to rest. The bowels is full of gastric juices, which breaks down food, and they have to suction out all of that fluid periodically. If they don't, the bowels will not heal. So according to Google, bowel rest allows your bowels to heal. So what Spice is going to be going through is the procedure is for her bowels to rest. That means she can't eat anything and she cannot drink anything because her bowels have to rest. Nothing can go down there now, not until she heals. But she still needs her nutrients. She still needs to hydrate her body. So the protocol, according to WebMD, is to receive nutrients, liquids through an IV. You cannot eat or drink during bowel rest. A nasogastric tube or an NG tube will be placed in your nose and down to your stomach. This tube will be used to remove liquids from your stomach to keep your digestive system empty. So guys, tell me, you think Spice got time to get on her phone or her laptop and type messages to her fans? If this is what's going on with her, this is all alleged now, we don't know. But this is a procedure for a perforated bowel. If your bowels get injured, tear, for whatever reason, surgeon error, maybe you had a hernia, maybe you had a peptic ulcer, whatever the reason, and it gets open and tear, surgeons have to repair it because you can't use your bowels until it's repaired. Because if you eat anything or drink anything, it's only going to be seeping bacteria into your system, meaning bowel contents will keep spilling into your blood and you will not survive. It's contrary to life. So it has to be repaired. Now, not eating or drinking anything by mouth is a small price to pay for saving your life. Or should I say this is usually the procedure because we don't know the procedure they're doing with Spice. So you guys honestly think Spice is going to pick up her phone with all that's going on with her to text fans and put out posts? If she has an NG tube, it would be going down her nose. And she's incapacitated and can't do anything but lay there until her bowels heal. You think she got a day and a time to even be worried about fans and typing and responding? It's her team that's putting out all this stuff on the internet. Your bowels got to heal completely. That means you can't eat or drink by your mouth. They got to put a tube down your throat and keep that bowel from filling up with any fluids. So this nasogastric tube that they put on your nose is for them to withdraw any fluid that keep accumulating in the stomach. And by taking the fluids out of the stomach, it's going to keep anything from going into the bowels. The bowels will be completely cleared of any substance, any fluids or liquids in order for it to heal. And she's going to receive her nutrients via IV. This is all alleged, folks, because all I did was looked it up to see the protocol for post-surgery after a bowel perforation. And this is what WebMD says is the protocol. And like I keep saying, guys, this is all alleged. So guys, based on what I've read, Spice is truly incapacitated. She is laid up in the bed, don't have time to be putting out statements. So stop blaming Spice for everything that's going on. Even me, I said she's putting out a bunch of lies, but it's not Spice who's putting it out, it's her team. So YouTubers, that is the latest. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. Thank you for watching.